And now, to talk about our module of the week, let's turn it over to Jacob Rockowitz, a Drupal consultant and maintainer of a number of Drupal modules of his own. Jake, what do you have for us this week?
Well, the module I'm going to talk about is when nodes have just too many local tasks. You go to a node and there's 10 buttons streamed across the top, and someone has to figure out which one's which, and they only use the first few, which usually is like view, edit, layout, revisions, and translate. Are the daily ones. And would you like to, hide and reorder the less commonly used tasks when you have the usage module or the clone module or Devel or convert? Well, there's a module for that. It's my module. It's the local task more module. I created it last year. It's just in a beta release. It's actively maintained. It doesn't have security coverage. It has some basic test coverage. It doesn't require much documentation because it's basically a configuration form where you go in and set up what tasks you want displayed. It is only used on 22 sites. Yeah, the configuration is you can pick the route. By default, it really focuses on the node route, the node edit form route, because that's where the problem usually occurs in Drupal, and that's the most commonly used one. And you can alter that to say you can reweight some of the tasks, you can hide some tasks, and you can set like a threshold to say if there's more than 9 tasks, only show 7 tasks. And what it does, it's a very simple approach where it adds a little extra arrow icon widget at the end of the 7 tasks, and if you click it, it just opens up and shows the remaining 2, and if you and it remembers the state, and it's written in a way where it works on any theme that displays local task in a predictable, normal fashion, just as a list of things. And it applies to the front end and the back end by design, and we can just start talking about it. I wanted to bring it up because the module page has a long list of modules that do similar things. This module was written so that it's as simple as possible to accomplish the goal of just hiding a few tasks, not rewiring or rethinking how tasks are displayed. So let's just start talking about it.
Yeah, I have a couple questions too. So I have a feeling I'm going to start using this on a lot of sites, but I didn't realize. So you mentioned you can reweight them, so you can reorder the tasks
Yeah, it
in
just
the
exposes
module.
a little YAML. It's basically it shows you the YAML that it calls a hook and says, here's all the configuration that's going to happen to your local task. How do you want to adjust and weight them so you can move them around? And you could say this needs to go at the end, this needs to go in the beginning. And you can even change the label. Sometimes that's kind of useful.
Yeah,
Shorten it. Um,
I feel like this solves an issue that a client had. So there was a module I think called publish content that gives you a local task to publish or unpublish content, depending if it's
mhm,
published or not.
yeah.
And the problem is by default, it puts it right next to view and edit. And the client, so I had a client that occasionally likes to publish or unpublish content depending on a campaign
Mhm,
that's running or not. And they didn't want to have to edit the page and check the box or toggle it and save it. And so we put this module in to make it convenient for them. The amount of times that they accidentally unpublished a page and didn't realize it for a week
mhm,
because they just clicked the wrong button. But I feel like having um, this module and putting that behind the the toggle that hides the other ones, it's still more convenient than having to edit it, wait for a whole page load, and then, save it, wait for another page load, but it'll prevent the accidental clicks of,
y yeah.
of that action. So, yeah, this module is great. It's one of those ones where why didn't I think of it ages ago?
Well, I mean, here's a question. Like, so I did it, and Gin Admin Team finally addressed this, where they had a problem where they were wrapping the buttons, and finally they put in side scrolling on the taskbar. So if you exceed 6, you have to scroll to the left or right, and I think they're going to keep improving that. So admin themes tend to deal with this, but front end themes, I just keep running into front end themes that don't address that. And I
Yeah,
think it becomes more of a problem because you're navigating the site, hopping from page to page, and there's just all this cruft at the
yeah,
top when yeah, and it's written in a way where it should work on all sites. It's like literally just an arrow GIF. I think it's like an emoji icon arrow, so it just works. It's not loading, it's as minimal, JavaScript as possible. I mean, it'd be nice to see solutions like this happen, I don't know, in core. It's very tricky, like the Gin admin theme can't solve this for the front end of a website.
yeah.
It's not really their responsibility, and
I
that's
I
kinda
think
why the
that's
module comes.
one of the key problems that still needs to be solved in Drupal. But John, what you got? You
Yeah, I have like some a few questions, right? So, one is, naming things is hard. Local tasks more. Why not more local tasks? I don't know. That was kind of the one I just came up with, but
Yeah.
that's not a real question. My real question is, I noticed that you on your module page, you say that there are a lot of modules that kind of already do something similar, right? I'm wondering why, like, why roll your own? Why not just go and like kind of work with one of those existing modules to do what you're looking for?
All of those modules, and this is the problem in this space, literally, like, lift the local tasks and move them to a whole area of the site and, like, change the UI, UX behind them.
Oh,
They're
okay.
not necessarily enhancing it. Like, they'll move it, they'll make it sticky, they'll move it to the left, move it to the right, and that's the challenge there is, like, I just had the problem was really simple, too many, and wanted just to limit what was visible, not change the UI, UX.
Got it. And then I guess my next question here is more about the ordering. So, there's a UI for the ordering. Like it's looking at the YAML and going, here are the elements, and then you have the ability to kind of like add weights and weight them, or is
Yep,
it like you have to
exactly. You
write
it's
your
like
own YAML file?
no, it's exposing the info that, like, hook, local task, alter,
Got it.
that you
Got
can
it.
do it. I mean, I'll throw out, like, I'm becoming a big fan of ECA and starting to realize that ECA can do,
Mm,
like, it's a very tricky discussion I'm having with people because it can't do everything in this module, but reordering, reweighting local tasks, that's 100% an ECA thing. It can catch a hook, tweak the data.
yeah. Yeah.
Um, but at the same time, you kinda wanna just manage your local tasks in one place, so when you create an ECA workflow for it, you're kind of maybe making things too complex.
So I will say to our listeners before we started recording, I said that I was going to be a negative Nancy on this because I
Mhm.
saw that there were other modules doing similar things, and it drives me nuts when people just kind of roll their own. I retract that
Yep.
statement because I appreciate your wanting to stay like close to core and just kind of like enhance what already exists as opposed to creating like a new UI element, right?
Well,
Um, I almost feel like this could be something that eventually makes it in I know, makes it into core, right? Because it feels like one of those things that like makes a lot of sense and it's kind of like why isn't this in there to help limit those tabs and allow people to do this kind of natively, but somebody would argue with me like, "No, that makes more sense to be in contrib."
Maybe it goes into Drupal CMS
Yeah.
since that's moving a lot quicker than Drupal core. It's a little more nimble. It could be a place to try it out, at least.
Maybe. I imagine also though Drupal CMS might not have as many local tasks, but I could be wrong.
I mean, I'll pose a whole different approach where the admin theme takes over local tasks. We are starting to get that capability in styling where
Mm,
and frankly, that might be a more consistent use of local tasks because it should be styled to look like the admin theme because 'cause you're going to switch to the admin theme.
yeah,
yeah,
No one uses local tasks for tabs on their site.
yeah,
Like
true.
that it's just
It's
not that use
also
case.
it's also really annoying when you load Drupal, right? You have an admin theme that comes in core and you use it and you're like, "Oh, here are the local tasks." And then you switch to another admin theme and those local tasks are just like gone or missing or at the bottom of the page.
yeah.
Don't do that.
Well,
It's
Even the front
I'll
end
jump
has to style it. Yeah.
yeah.
I'll jump in and say, like, I think, um, I didn't realize there were so many different modules related to these local tasks, I'll be honest. But I will say that they are all doing slightly different things, right? So it gives you the flexibility to choose what UX works best for your particular site and client. Like, there's one that puts it on the bottom right, there's one that puts it on the left. There's one that puts it in the admin toolbar. The one that I'm working on that will be released before this show comes out puts it as a sticky banner on the bottom of the page that you can dismiss
Mhm.
or bring back if you need to. So, um, in my case, I'm trying to make sure that it's just always in the same place. But if you need to see the whole page, you can kind of hide it and see what you need to see. Now, to your point, Jacob, though, the other thing that I'm trying to do with my approach is I tried to use, CSS variables everywhere I could,
Mhm.
Because that's one of the other things that's always irritating to me is that you have these design systems or, widgets or components or pieces, but then overriding them becomes so difficult because especially if it's on the admin side, right? Getting
Yeah.
something available to the admin theme is just so difficult. And CSS variables, I feel like makes that so much easier because you can just make sure you load, then you just have to load the variable file in the correct place and whatever basics you have set will be the same in both places. But yeah, no, I think this is a great module. I think it's a good candidate for Drupal CMS, right? Because it's the kind of thing that people are used to.
Or it's a revisiting, we revisited navigation and maybe the UI
Yeah.
UX team has to revisit how local tasks work because we could all agree it doesn't work when there's 12 things.
Yeah.
Like it falls apart.
Yeah.
There's a UI and maybe a recommendation on what is the right approach because there's a lot of, you could convert it to drop downs. I think some admin themes do that sometimes,
Yeah. And
especially on
I think
mobile.
there's been some movement to put it in the navigation toolbar in the upper right.
Yeah.
Um, but
Feels
I'm not
feels
sure if that
like
solves
a
the issues.
this feels like a UI problem, Jay could be very well suited to solve. Feels
Yeah.
like this is his next initiative.
Yeah.
Maybe, maybe not, but I enjoy the discussion of trying to be as light as possible and allow for any decisions that have been made in previous either front end or back end admin themes to percolate and come to the fore instead of taking over and being super opinionated. It's actually very similar to what we'll be talking about later with the contact form. We had a very similar approach.
Mm.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jacob. As always, great
Thanks
module of
very
the
much.
week. It's
Okay.
yeah, I'll be using this in some projects. I'll definitely let you know, and we'll
Yeah, I'll
see you
see you
next
in
week.
1 week on episode 500.
Yeah, we're looking forward to
Congrats.
it.
Okay. Have a good day, guys.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Yeah.